Good morning. Welcome to the Fresh Start Breakfast to benefit the Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. I am so grateful to have you here this morning with me as I drink my coffee. Before we all get started, I'd love to introduce our table captains who, without them, we would not have the large gathering that we have this morning. So without further ado, I'd like to say thank you to our table captains and introduce them all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie Bowman at McGuire Woods, and welcome to the first ever virtual Fresh Start Breakfast. This is one of my favorite events every year, and I'm so excited to hear today about all of the work that CVLAS is doing to meet the needs in our community. I'm also excited to hear about the needs in our community that are still outstanding and ways that we can help today.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here today to support one of my absolutely favorite organizations, the Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. Pleased to be a table captain today and pleased to have so many of you here today. The work they do is absolutely indispensable to our community. I am so thrilled to see Janae Craddock running the Housing and Eviction Project, worked with her for many years as a prosecutor, and what they're doing right now is absolutely vital to protect the most vulnerable members of our community. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll consider financially supporting the work that they're doing. They need all the help that they can get. And this is what makes Richmond special, is organizations like this and people like you. So thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Anna Delandro, and I'd like an opportunity to welcome you to today's event. Legal aid is extremely important in our community, and today you'll have an opportunity to hear some examples of how Central Virginia Legal Aid Society has helped many individuals in our very own backyard.
Good morning, everybody. This is Stephanie Grana, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm here on behalf of myself and my law firm, Bright, Cantor, Grana, Buckner. I am honored to be a table captain this morning, and my law firm is very honored to be one of the sponsors. We are a Rise and Shine sponsor. So although I don't drink coffee, I did want to say good morning to everyone, and I hope that you're with us having coffee. I am really, really, really sorry not to be engaging with everybody and to be in person. We always have such a large and vibrant group, even though it's early in the morning when we have done this in past years. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone who is here virtually. And I am very sorry to be missing you all in person and giving hugs and warm hellos. So thank you again for being here. As a table captain, I wanted to give a special thanks to my table guests who are around me virtually, and that would include Ashley Davis, Abby Broughton, Bellamy Stoneburner, and Brielle Hunt. Central Virginia Legal Aid is a wonderful organization. They do very, very good work, and this Fresh Start Breakfast is just one of the things they do to show us some of the work they do through the clients that they have helped and through the attorneys who have represented them. And it is also a fundraising opportunity. So I know that you will hear from some of the Central Virginia Legal Aid personnel. You will also hear from one or two clients, and those are the most moving stories that I have heard, and I welcome that. And I am not a Virginia legal aid attorney. However, I do sponsor them whenever I can in pertaining to votes on legislation or fundraising. And that is one thing that we can all do this morning. So I do ask any of you and all of you to give what you can, what you're able to. We have all been affected by COVID-19. Unfortunately, that has hit low-income folks more than the rest of us. Central Virginia Legal Aid, the majority of the services they provide are to women. So please consider that when you give in your fundraising efforts. Thank you so much. Enjoy your breakfast. And again, it is a pleasure to be a sponsor and a table captain. Thank you for having me.
Hi, friends. It's Betsy Williams. Thank you so much for registering for the Fresh Start Breakfast. The Central Virginia Legal Aid Society is so important to the community, especially right now. They're helping out lower income folks, and as we know, there are more and more of them each day. So thanks again. They need our help, and I hope to see you all soon.
Good morning, and welcome to my favorite event of fall, the Fresh Start Breakfast. I'm Tennille Chekovich, Deputy General Counsel for Smithfield Foods, and I hope that you will find today's client stories as moving and impactful as I do. Now more than ever, it's critically important that we all support Legal Aid in its mission to help those in need in our community to find justice.
Hi, good morning. My name is Cristiane Queiroz. I'm the Virginia Farm Workers Program Director at Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. I'm so glad you could join us today to hear some of our clients' stories and about the work we do. I hope you do enjoy it. Thank you so very much for supporting Central Virginia Legal Aid Society's mission.
Before we get started, I'd like to give a little history about the Fresh Start Breakfast. This event began in 2015 as a joint fundraising effort between the Central Virginia Legal Aid Society and the Legal Aid Justice Center. This is the 6th annual event, and although this event looks a little different this year, the end result is the same. We are asking for your financial support to continue the wonderful work of the Central Virginia Legal Aid Society and the community. Over 1/4 of Richmond area residents are at or below the poverty line. That's nearly 53,000 of the 210,000 Richmond City residents. This is almost double the national average of 13.1%. More than 1/3 of Richmond area children live in households below this poverty threshold, and nearly 25% of working age women are below the line. It is no surprise, then, that many of these individuals and families, often in the most dire circumstances, find their way to Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. I'd like to speak a little bit about my personal experiences with legal aid, how they've been so helpful as an information and resource for the families that I've worked with for nearly 3 decades in the city. No matter what the issue, I can always count on legal aid to respond in a timely manner and to assist us either with legal services or information and resources that we can turn to assist families in need. And I think that it's so important to have them continue their work in our city and continue their work with our families in most need of justice. So I really want to take this opportunity to thank everyone from every staff member to the person who cleans the building. Everyone is dedicated to this cause, and it really shows when I'm interfacing with the staff and attorneys at the legal aid office. Now I'd like to introduce the Central Virginia Legal Aid Society's Executive Director, the one and only Steve Dickinson, who will tell us more about the organization and introduce our guest speakers.
Good morning. Thank you, Councilwoman Gray, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. I'm Steve Dickinson, an attorney and the Executive Director of Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. And I'm here in our downtown Richmond offices in front of the best bookshelves we have to talk to you about why the work of legal aid is more important today than ever. Legal aid organizations like CVLAS are nonprofit law firms that represent low-income people in our community in civil cases related to critical life needs. Unlike criminal cases, where a person who cannot afford an attorney is guaranteed one by the Constitution, in civil cases, like when a homeowner is facing foreclosure, a victim of domestic violence seeks custody of their children, a worker loses their job, or a veteran is denied benefits, poor people have no lawyer provided to them by law. Legal aid, developed in the 1970s, is the answer meeting this need and keeping equal justice under law a living American value. However, CVLAS and other legal aid programs like us are not agencies of the government and depend on grants and donations to pursue our mission. The federal government's annual commitment to legal aid nationwide is about $450 million, a sum less than Americans spent last year on Halloween costumes for their pets. It leaves legal aid and all the volunteer attorneys who donate their time pro bono able to address less than 20% of the legal needs of the poor. Despite these limitations, legal aid attorneys make a huge difference in thousands of people's lives every year and improve our social and economic systems. Today, you will hear from two attorneys and their client stories that we have had the honor to serve. I could not be prouder to work alongside these folks and share in the work they do. We are all adjusting to the very different times we are living in. Some of those adjustments include holding virtual events like this one and missing out on the fellowship and food that we shared together at past breakfasts. For legal aid clients, the adjustments are far more dangerous. The COVID-19 pandemic has hit poor and minority communities especially hard. Since March 2020, we have seen a spike in cases involving eviction, domestic violence, wills, and powers of attorney, and applications for unemployment benefits. Our attorneys are learning and applying new policies and laws that seem to change weekly. All the while, they are balancing shelter-at-home rules and trying their best to protect themselves and their families while going to court to represent their clients. It is not an exaggeration to say we are on the front lines to answer the question, is justice for all a value that we as Americans still cherish? I really appreciate you all joining us this morning. You all have choices to make about how you spend your time, and it means a lot to the staff, clients, and board members of CVLES that you chose to spend it with us. Because of your support, we're able to continue to provide our very necessary services. I want to give a special thank you to our sponsors. Our Commonwealth sponsors, Hunt & Andrews Kurth and McGuire Woods. Our Good Morning sponsor, Allen, Allen, and our Rise and Shine sponsor, Bright Cantor. Thank you for making a difference.
Hello, my name is Janae Craddock. I'm the Housing Law Outreach Attorney here at Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. My primary focus is to help individuals who are facing evictions as well as housing-related maintenance issues here in the city of Richmond.
My name is Lakeisha Abimbola. I initially went to court because I had a situation with my air unit. Met Ms. Craddock through legal aid services, and she's been helping me with my case.
On July 6, 2020, I met Lakeisha Abimbola here in the courthouse after she was referred to our office by the clerk's office. Ms. Abimbola is a self-employed single mother. She had recently stopped working due to the pandemic, and because she did not want to run the risk of exposing her children to the COVID-19 virus, as they have some high-risk conditions. She had been living in her home since 2018 and has had ongoing maintenance issues. But what brought her into the courthouse on that day was the lack of a working AC. Ms. Abimbola had notified her landlord that the air conditioner was not working, and his response was to her, and I'm paraphrasing, is, "You pay your rent, I'll fix your AC."
Normally, my landlord allowed me to do certain fixtures in a house, and he would deduct it from my rent. Basically small fixtures. At that time, my rent was due. I didn't give it to him because usually I'm not able to get any help getting anything fixed in the house. So my intentions was to either he was going to fix the air conditioner unit, or I would spend the money to fix it myself and he deducted from the rent.
Now, it's important to note that during this time period, Richmond was experiencing temperatures in the high 90s, even in excess of 100 degrees. And so it was something that needed to be addressed, because due to her children's high-risk conditions, she was no longer able to house them at home. And so she had to send them out to friends and families' homes, therefore further exposing her children to the potential of contracting COVID-19.
My children had to go sleep elsewhere for like 3 weeks until all of this was taken care of.
So on July 13, 2020, I had Ms. Abimbola meet me at the courthouse, and I assisted her with filing an unlawful exclusion. The court set that matter for a hearing on July 15th. At that time, the landlord agreed to provide 2 window units as well as send a technician out to inspect the HVAC system. Well, that didn't go exactly as we planned because he did send the technician out. However, he did not provide the AC units as he had agreed to. So during that weekend, Ms. Abimbola actually purchased 3 units herself to help cool her home, but more importantly, to bring her family, her children back home.
I wound up having to buy my own air conditioning units, which was 3 of them for this house. And when we went to court, they told him that he had to reimburse me. The air conditioners become part of the unit now, which was fine. They continued our case all the way until November 2nd. But there was a judgment for him towards me for the amount of like $700 and some change, the balance on the air conditioners.
When we returned to court, the judge at that time awarded Ms. Abimbola a partial judgment in her favor for the AC unit she had purchased, but also it was continued out until August 15th for the landlord to, in fact, repair the HVAC system, which would provide central air to the entire home. When we returned to court on August 18th, the landlord had in fact fixed the system, but the court also awarded Ms. Abimbola an additional $715 in her favor for the units she had to purchase, and also awarded attorney's fees for the representation that I provided.
Ms. Craddock will also be representing me in November, hopefully into the end of this case. She also has helped me because homeless diversion unit stepped in. So I got an application in with them to help me with all the back rent. So hopefully they'll go through sometime soon.
My name is Paul Marheenan, and I am an attorney and Equal Justice Works Housing Justice Program Fellow at the Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. I came to CVLAS as part of this program because of the endemic housing crisis, the lack of affordable housing, and the staggeringly high number of evictions in the city of Richmond and also the greater Richmond area. So working at CVLAS has meant having the ability to be on the front line of an absolutely critical fight, the fight to keep people safely housed. And while that is always important, the pandemic has only served to magnify the importance of safe, affordable, and stable housing for residents of Richmond. Before, housing meant where you lived, where your kids went to school, where you were able to get jobs. But during the pandemic, having stable housing is the difference between potentially getting COVID-19 and not getting COVID-19. So the ramifications have become, they were already catastrophic. Losing your housing was already a catastrophic thing to have happen, but now it's become not just a catastrophe, but potentially deadly as well. I first met Tiffany. She came to our office in crisis. She opened up an intake. She had been the victim of domestic violence, and she was behind on her rent because the primary breadwinner in the household was the person who had perpetrated the violence. And she was not only behind on rent, but the perpetrator of this terrible incident had also managed to cut their water off during a pandemic before he was taken into custody by the City of Richmond Police Department. And because of the circumstances that were happening at the time, the landlord was unwilling to work directly with Ms. Jones to assist her in getting the water connected back to the property. Luckily, when I got involved, I was able to use the threat of an unlawful exclusion against the landlord, along with contacts that I have at the Department of Public Utilities to get Ms. Jones's water reconnected within just a day or two. From there, we had to move on to dealing directly with the fact that she was now months behind on her rent and was being sued for eviction, which would have resulted in her and her children basically being homeless without any resources. I put her in touch with the rent relief programs, the ACTS program and the home program in Richmond, and worked with her in an attempt to facilitate the documentation that she needed to get to those programs in order to be eligible. I also had to work with her landlord in order to do that. Her landlord, for example, did not have a ledger that either program was willing to accept. So I ended up actually constructing a tenant ledger for Ms. Jones and saving her several $100s in the process as I did so in order to make her eligible for these programs. As we got closer and closer to the court date, though, it was still unclear exactly what amount of rent she was eligible for. So I escalated the situation within both programs and was eventually able to secure a promise between the two programs to cover all of Tiffany's rent from March through the end of September. And in the meantime, after she recovered from having gotten COVID-19, she's now able to get back to work. And from here on out, she's going to be working and able to pay off her own rent. And her eviction case will be dismissed, which means she and her children will be able to stay in a house that also has water. So it's a spectacular outcome for her and is really indicative of the work that we've been able to do with the housing advocates that we have because of the Equal Justice Works Housing Justice Program here at Central Virginia Legal Aid Society.
Hi, I am Tiffany Jones. I was in a very tough situation. I am a survivor of a domestic violence dispute where the person involved was the primary breadwinner of our household. So upon his arrest, it left me in a very tough spot because not only was that happening, but so was COVID-19. I found myself with a lawful detainer, needing to go to court, facing eviction due to non-payment. I'm reaching out to 211, and they suggested that I call the Central Virginia Legal Aid Society, of when I was introduced to Palmer, who has been phenomenal throughout this entire ordeal. So I meet with Palmer. I explain my situation to him in detail, and Palmer jumped right into action. Upon the arrest of the individual, he had the services disconnected for the water. Now, again, this is all going on during the COVID, so of course the water was essential. So because there was a lack of payment, the landlord did not want to assist me with reestablishing the services. So I'm explaining this to Palmer, and again, the hero he is, he jumped right into action. He was able to speak with my landlord as well as the Department of Public Utilities for the city of Richmond. And we are tag teaming them back and forth to the point we are both on hold for hours, all while I'm trying to work on one end, he's working on the other end, and Department of Public Utilities literally has us on hold for an hour of us trying to resolve the situation. Palmer stuck with me day in, day out. He was very communicative, calling, checking in, just making sure we had what we needed. As we resolved the water issue, then it was coming down to us or me being in contact with the organizations that were put in place to also assist and to also offer me the financial assistance with getting my rent up to date. So he put me in contact with HOME, which is Housing Opportunities Made Equal, and the CARES Act. As I went through their initial intake, I'm constantly reaching out to them. Palmer's reaching out to me to make sure that I'm still in contact with them. There has been good communication between the both organizations. However, the closer we were getting to that deadline of court, which was going to be the determining factor of whether I stay or leave, the day before, Palmer was able to reach out to both organizations. They gave him an answer that they were going to pay the entire balance off in full, to where I just needed to pay for October. And he went to court. He was able to establish that. The date has been continued, I believe, to the 26th, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, maybe tomorrow. But thus far, they did receive half of their back pay, and the other half is to be expected to come the beginning of next week. I just spoke with my landlord today. She's happy. I'm happy. And moving forward, I am now currently working at home, actually, making a nice, decent amount to where I can continue to keep myself and my family afloat, and we can continue to just live our lives, and just hopefully not find ourselves in this situation again. But I will say that if it was not for Palmer Housing Opportunities Made Equal, as well as the CARES Act, I probably would not be sitting here talking to you today. So I'm very, very, very grateful for all the help that I received. And I'm also prayerful that they will be able to extend that help to others in need.
I'd like to thank all of our guests for participating this morning. And as we've heard, legal aid is making a tremendous difference in the lives of individuals and families in and around Richmond. In fact, last year, Central Virginia Legal Aid Society attorneys won judgments and settlements worth over $500,000. They closed more than 3,000 cases and defended their clients from nearly $2 million in unlawful debt. Central Virginia Legal Aid Society depends on the support of the community to continue the free legal assistance we provide to low-income individuals and families in our service area. $75 buys an hour of legal time at Central Virginia Legal Aid Society. $150 provides 2 hours of community outreach for preventative education. $300 pays for full representation in an average case with a Central Virginia Legal Aid Society lawyer. Whatever you can give, please support this worthy organization that helps low-income people who deserve the right to an attorney. They may even be your own neighbor. Instructions on how to donate are shown on the right side of your screen. I'd like to thank you again, and also thank our main sponsors today, Hunton, Andrews, Kurth, and McGuire Woods, our Good Morning sponsors, Allen, and our Rise and Shine sponsors, Bright Cantor. We hope you enjoyed this event, and I look forward to seeing you next year, hopefully in person.